Hi, Pinky.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
So, Pinky, you are a former radio presenter, a conversation curator, and also a digital content creator.
Yeah.
So, you wrote a letter to your 25-year-old self. What would you say is the main difference between social media when you were 25 versus social media
Oh.
now?
Social media never existed when I was 25.
Really?
I mean, we'd have email.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the internet, we'd have a few websites, like very few,
Mm-hmm.
but that was it.
No blogs?
No blogs, no Twitter, no
Yeah.
Instagram, no Facebook.
Yeah, I can imagine because Facebook came when I was like 12.
Yeah.
So definitely
Yeah.
when you're 25, there
Yeah,
was
there was no
Nothing
nothing.
yet.
Nothing was there.
That's really interesting.
Can you
I
imagine?
think we can set up here.
Sure.
Okay, but like still from 25 until now,
Mm-hmm.
how have you managed to stay relevant?
Wow. I think one thing that I always do is let go when I know that it's no longer serving me, or also when I when I know that you need to make room for the younger generation. You know,
Yeah.
I could have hung on to radio, like, but it also, like, I wasn't doing justice to my audience. I wasn't doing justice to myself. I had to let go, make room for the
Yeah.
new, and not lose my identity, but allow myself to grow. And gracefully so. You know, everyone's like, oh, why do you openly admit your age? Because
Yeah.
age is inevitable. We're all getting there, right?
Yeah.
There's no denying it. So I own my age. I really love getting older. And that's the same thing with my career. I've loved every phase of it. I am where I am. I'm not competing with anybody younger than me. I am inspired by the younger generation. I look
Yeah.
at them and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I wish I could do that. But I feel it's also just owning your space and being where you are, because that's exactly where you're meant to be, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
It is. So basically just embracing the transformation, the transition.
That's
to
it.
every stage.
Yeah,
Awesome.
transition, that's a good word.
Let's do some yoga. if
You
I
ready
can
to yoga?
take out.
Yoga goga?
Welcome to the show, Pinky.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
How's life?
Life is good.
Yeah?
Yeah, all is well.
That's
Thank you for
nice.
having me, and
you for
congratulations on
coming.
season 2.
Thank you.
Well done.
How would you really consider yourself a health nut?
I think as I am getting older, I'm becoming more aware of my body. So being healthy is not really an option, it's more of a lifestyle.
So, cause like from your Instagram, I normally see the recipes of like the juices and the dawas.
Yeah.
So, since you mentioned that it's as you're getting older, when exactly was the switch, and is there anything specific that triggered it?
So I remember when I was trying to conceive, if you Google it, it's TTC, that's what they say, TT, I'm trying to conceive. And I was, I went through 4 miscarriages and I couldn't understand what was going on there. And it was only when I changed my diet is when I actually carried healthy pregnancies. So there was, of course, some relation to that, but no doctor told me this. It was something that I found out on my own. So the more natural I went in regards to my foods is how I was able to conceive and carry a baby to term.
That is really interesting.
But that was just, my research in my 30s. In my 40s, I have become more aware of my menstruation cycle. I've become more aware of what's going on in my gut, because your gut is where all your health lies. And again, we have not been taught this. It's something that I am teaching myself and therefore spreading the awareness using my platforms. So you have to understand that your gut is your second brain. A lot of us are suffering from depression, we're unhappy, we're moody, we're irritable, and we don't understand it's because of the foods that we are consuming. There are toxins all around us. We're breathing in toxins constantly, and we're applying sometimes the creams, the makeup products that we have chemicals. They go into our system. And so, we really need to look after how we detox, and it starts with the gut. So,
So how long did it take to conceive?
So with my firstborn, it was 3 years before I had her, but this is now intentionally trying. And then after her, I had another miscarriage, and I just thought, okay, I'm being greedy. I shouldn't want another one. So I stopped trying. It was not something that, we wanted like on purpose. But when she started telling me, she's like, God told me you have a baby in your belly. That's what she'd say at 3 years old. God told me, God told me. So for 1 week, she kept saying this every morning. So I went and did a blood test. And fair enough, I was 1 week pregnant.
Oh my God, that has to be like the coolest story ever.
So cool. I mean, like when kids talk to you, really listen to them, because they are very connected, and they have truth in what they say.
Awesome. I think now you can go ahead and read for us your letter.
Okay. Dear 25-year-old me, wow, you just got crowned Miss India Kenya, and for the next decade, your name is going to become a household name. In Kenya, at least. Babe, let's demystify some shit. Your mom is not a superhero. She will go through a very human experience that will change her life and yours. So spend more time with her. Tell her you love her and value her. Tell her to teach you everything about being a mother, and show you her recipes. Your body deserves your love and acceptance at every phase. She has carried a lot, including traumas from childhood and teen years, and is about to endure so much more. Also, your gut is so important. People-pleasing does not suit you. Familiarity is not always good. It breeds contempt. Love is beautiful and ugly. Be prepared with others and yourself. Not everything you eat, apply, and surround yourself with is good for you. Toxins are everywhere. Go more natural. Friends are not going to offer you what you offer them. Everyone has a reason. Don't take their words or actions personally. Family is not always related to you by blood, and that's okay. You will get through this. One thing I need you to do is not lose yourself in the next 20 years, because your world is going to continue to change in ways you could never imagine. Just remember who you are and know that I'm proud of you and I love you. Holding on.
Aww. That was really such a warm letter. If I can take you back to the first time you sat down to write the letter, what was it like? What emotions were you going through? What was the mood?
I mean, I would have liked to have somebody tell me this. Of course, when I was younger, I wish somebody had said, listen, these are the realities of life. I think a lot of the times we sugarcoat stuff. We try to pacify people and not show them real life happens, and real life sometimes, sorry to keep using this word, is shit. I
I also feel that until you experience something, you will never really know it. So somebody may give you advice, somebody may say, okay, this and this and this. But until you experience it, you don't understand it.
It's like,
Yeah, you're like, yeah, whatever. I can do it better. I can do it differently.
yeah.
So the emotions were me talking to myself as a younger sister. And you know, we always want to protect our younger siblings. We always want to protect our children as well. But like I said, until they go through it, your role is to just stand by, observe, and be there and support.
Wow. So Miss India Kenya.
Yeah.
How did you get into pageantry?
I was a model. I was already on the catwalk, and one of the very few Asians to do that at that time. So when this pageant came along, the first person everybody called was me. You need to do this, you need to do this. And I thought this would be my big break into Bollywood, because I did want to be an actress. And I was like, yeah, because you know, at that time the trend was anybody who was winning a worldwide crown, like Miss World, Miss Universe, was being given a break, especially if she's Indian, into Bollywood. So I thought, yes, this is my opportunity. I have been grounded since then, especially by my daughter, who, when I celebrated 20 years of being Miss India Kenya, she was like, yeah, but what made you better than everyone? And I was like, actually, what?
What did?
Yeah, I cannot say there was one thing, because, you know, I've taught my daughter not to compare herself to anyone else. So for me to be celebrating the fact that I was compared to others and I was better than others is hypocritical. So I think I've evolved as well from that.
Yeah. So I personally don't know much about pageants. Like the most I've seen, there's this show on TLC that used to come, like the young pageant girls, like they're from Texas. Yeah, and then they had their moms there, and they always had cat fights in between the moms. So is the pageant scene in Kenya the same way?
I mean, it's competition, right? When you pit people against one another, there will be bitchiness, bitterness, a lot of shady things going on behind the scenes. But like I said, I think we have evolved from where I was and how I participated in pageants. And there's a lot more camaraderie now. I don't know.
People seem nicer?
People seem nice. We have changed as a people, I think. You know, so also the pageant platforms have changed. I feel that it's not as celebrated, if you will. So it's like, so you won that, so what's the big deal? Are you a CEO of a company or things like that's more as that, or you know, did you run 10,000 meters and win the gold? That's what we're celebrating now.
So once you get the crown, you get the title, then what do you do with it? What happens? What does it mean? What responsibilities does it come with?
For me, I created my own responsibilities because I was not told by the Secretariat what to do next. And because I really wanted to use this platform to make a difference, I went out there and started championing different causes. I used it, you know, I partnered with Miss Kenya at that time. It was a very beautiful journey for us, you know, and I think we did manage to shine light on many different causes. A lot of, we worked with a lot of different children's homes. We traveled all over Kenya. It was, like I said, for me, it was beautiful to be able to use that platform to change the lives of hopefully many people.
Do you think it propelled your career in any way?
We were in the paper almost on a daily basis, you know, so yes, because it did propel my career, because you can imagine, you know, being seen constantly, then becoming a household name, as I said in my letter, then being able to pick up the phone and say, hi, this is Ghelani. It just opens doors. And I remember I was once at a fundraising, and he wasn't the president yet, but you know, he was like, oh, and Miss India Kenya, Pinky Ghelani is here. Hey Pinky, hey, this is Uhuru Kenyatta. And I'm like, hi, dude. You know, we know each each other.
Yeah.
It was just nice for people to be able to just
know my name. Yeah.
Okay, so now speaking of careers, after now Miss India Kenya, did you ever go after the acting dream, or what happened next?
I did. I went to India, but this was much later. I think I was almost 30 when I decided, okay, now I'm going to take this opportunity and go. But it was hard. It was really hard. I didn't know anyone in India, so starting from the bottom.
Yeah.
And you can imagine now I'm in a country where there are 1 billion people. A quarter of those are maybe my age, more beautiful, more talented, more hungry, who want this career. And it is, there are spaces that are dark. So I did fall into those spaces once or twice, and I was just like, ooh, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So the casting couch is real. There are places where you're offered something and then you show up for the shoot and it's not what you've agreed on. So I just thought that's the universe's way of telling me, this is not for you. Stop, go home, go away. And that's when I decided to come back and get married.
Oh, so the radio was before or after the acting?
It was before. Radio was before, yeah.
Ah, so what did you get into after?
After
you got back home?
I got back, I just, I was doing my media work, and we got into the print media side of it. So Carol Mundy called me and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. She's like, come do some work for me at Drum Magazine, at True Love Magazine. So that's where I started working. And then Chris Kirubi called me back again to Capital, and that I really wanted to do. I wanted to do the breakfast show, but it didn't work out. So I just was doing the print media side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think by now we all know about how important a brand is,
yes.
Especially if you are your own brand.
Yeah.
What would you say is the difference between your brand when you were the 25-year-old pageant girl versus now?
What is there a difference? That's a great question. Great question. I don't know if I can say that there's much of a difference, because my brand has always been I wanted it to always be a strong brand. I always wanted it to be a reputable brand. I always wanted it to be a brand that is a force to be reckoned with, in the sense that, what I was doing at that time, I wanted it to continue. And then it's a brand that should be able to leave a legacy. So I feel that, if anything, that is different is maybe that it's stronger when it comes to me as a person, and a wiser brand. But I've always had a vision on what my brand or me as a person is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in your letter, you mentioned the childhood traumas and also trauma in your teenagehood. Would you want to tell us a bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I lost my dad when I was 6, and that was just, very hard for me to sort of come to terms with. As a teenager, I was bullied in school, which was, again, very, very difficult. And I'm so glad I was brought up with 2 brothers, because that's a masculine energy. I used to come home and be like, I got bullied. And they're like, okay, let me show you how to punch a person. So then I developed a chip on my shoulder. So anybody who would look at me the wrong way, I would go and punch them. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. So then I had to get myself out of that sort of phase as well. But yeah, these are the traumas that I feel that also made me. I recognize them. I'm not afraid to talk about them. I will always share stories, because I feel sharing stories heals us. And this is when, like when my dad died, when my brother died, I was 17 years old. There was no therapy at that time. 1993 is when I lost my brother. Nobody was saying, oh, go for therapy. Everybody was like, I'm sorry, be strong for your mother.
Even therapy, it was for People are going nuts.
Yeah. So, you know, I had to find a way out of it and heal my pain. Yeah.
In what ways would you say that that trauma has affected you now?
Well, like I said, for me, it's about sharing the stories. I feel like today I can be a better friend, a better wife, a better daughter, and a better mother, and even a better public personality, because I empathize. I understand. You know, recently my husband's uncle died, and that's the first death they've seen in the family. And I was able to just even play therapist. I know therapists will be like, oh, you can't be a therapist. But, you know, just be able to say, okay, I understand what you're going through. You know, you will feel like this, you will feel like that. So this is how I feel like it's helped me help others, if you will. Yeah.
Okay. You also talk a bit about friends.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself a loyal friend?
I am a die-hard loyal friend. Die-hard. In fact, that's why I say in the letter that friends will not be who you are. Because I am loyal to the T. And I've been let down in so many ways. And I'm not going to point fingers or point any blame, because I also feel that you attract things in your life. So I've attracted some very difficult lessons. But I am a loyal friend. I really, really value my friends. Yeah.
So you definitely would say that the same loyalty has not always been extended to you?
No, definitely not.
And how does that make you feel as a person who, you know, is basically a diehard?
Yeah, I mean, like, you question yourself. You're like, okay, what's wrong with me? How come, you know, my friends seem to do this to me? What's going on in my world? And again, you know, I think that I've always taught myself is take responsibility for what's going on around you. So I always internalize, I always sort of question myself first. Did I do something wrong? Did I let someone else down? And I also think that people perceive you as they are. So I perceive others like, you should be loyal because I'm loyal. But, you know, if they think like she's manipulating me, which I have been accused of sometimes by friends, and that's their perception of themselves, you know, being projected. So, yeah.
Would you say when you were younger, you were always concerned with whether or not people liked you?
Of course, of course. And, you know, it was something that maybe I let go of even as recently as 6 years ago. I was a people pleaser, and I think that is a trauma response as well. You want people to like you, you know, and then I'm a public person, and then I'm a beauty queen. Like me, please. So it affected me when people didn't, and it shocked me. It's like, what do you mean you don't like me? How could you do this to me? Now it's like, whatever. I like myself.
Yeah, but why in the first place would you think that they may not like you?
How do you mean?
Because for you to be concerned whether or not they like me, it means that there is the chance that they don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that came from the bullying in school. So like my entire class ganged up against me.
Why?
I really wish I understood why. If I go back, I think also a trauma response is blocking memories. So I don't know what went wrong, what happened there. I remember once a friend of mine stomped on the ground. This was soon after my father died, so you can imagine 6, 7, 8 years old. And she said, I'm stepping on your father.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Children are horrible.
I still see that in my head, you know. And then what happened, and my mom told me once, I was like, you know, Mom, the girls are not being so nice to me. She's like, hang out with the boys. She just told me that, you know, just, hang out with the boys. And because I was brought up by boys, it was an easier energy for me to get along with. So I used to hang out with the boys, and I think that pissed the girls off even more. You know, so they all ganged up against me. It got really bad. I had to ask my mom to pull me out of school. I sat my O-levels privately because I was miserable going to. And I'm glad that she heard me because I don't know what frame of mind I was in. You know, I don't recall, but I do recall her hearing me, taking me out of school, allowing me to sit my O-levels privately.
Yeah. So you would say that being a people pleaser, then it came from just not wanting to be bullied. It's like,
maybe,
let me try and be nice, let me do what you guys want me to do, then the bullying might stop.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what triggered when you say it's a couple of years now, and you're like, you know what, no.
Yeah.
Like, to hell with all
Enough.
of you.
I'm done. My mom had a stroke, and it happened right in front of my eyes. So, you know, in the letter I say that she's not a superhero. In my eyes, my mother was my superhero. She brought me up from the age of 6. She went through everything with me: bullying, exams, boyfriends, in-law issues, miscarriages, career. You know, she was my backbone. So when I saw her crumble, my world stopped. She is now paralyzed and unable to speak because of this stroke. And you know, sometimes when I push her around in a mall in a wheelchair, I'm like, is this really, you know, it's surreal. I'm like, is this really my reality? You know, when I talk to her about things, do you remember when, and she can't remember, it breaks my heart a little bit. And that reality, and that's why I'm saying, reality can sometimes be very shitty. This is the reality that made me understand that when you put your boundaries up, and when you understand that self-love is the first thing that you need to do for you, and that means letting go of what people think of you, letting go of people pleasing, letting go of everything that you have taught yourself. That is what I had to go through. This is when I saw my mom go through what she went through. Yeah.
Oh, that's like, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I feel like, for me, I do believe that the universe is constantly talking to you. And I say this a lot, even on my social media platforms. When you need to learn something, the universe will give you a tap, and give you a nudge. If you are not listening, the universe will shove you into a very rude awakening. And this was my rude awakening. My mother is my teacher, you know, and I'm grateful to her. Because of her, I've been able to think differently, live differently, show myself love, put myself first.
It's actually really interesting that you've mentioned that, because in season 1, John Allen's episode, he said the same thing, because at the time I was turning 25, and I told him all older people who are coming are writing a letter to their 25-year-old selves. So I feel like you people are trying to tell me something, and he told me the same thing. He was like, if you think they're telling you something, then you should listen.
Yes.
There might be a message
you know,
somewhere in there.
Things come in threes. So signs come in threes, messages come in threes. If it comes more than that, then you're lucky, because the universe is still being kind. Before your rude awakening, you must listen.
Yeah. So you also mentioned that your mother was like your teacher. Is there anything that you feel like, or that you wish that she could have taught you?
Yeah. You know, I once had a conversation with her before her stroke, and I said, Mom, why didn't you teach me your cooking style? She's like, because I always used to watch you come home from work and you were always tired. I didn't want to pull you into the kitchen as well. You know, I didn't want to burden you with that. And, you know, the few times that I cooked with my mom, we'd always end up fighting. You know, she'd be like, no, walk away. So I really wish that I had learned her recipes, because she was a phenomenal cook, as most of our mothers are. And, you know, sometimes when I'm bringing up my kids, I look for her voice. I silence myself and I think, what would she have told me in this moment? Because I know she must have said it in our many conversations, that this is what you do when you're bringing up your child or your daughter when she's about to be a teenager. So I try and really listen to that voice. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk a bit about content creation. Because you're a content creator as well. Would you say there is aspects of people pleasing in content creation
Absolutely.
as well?
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's a whole, why do you think I have so much gray hair? This is because of content creation and being a mom of 2 kids who continuously fight.
Yeah.
So social media is different, right? It's very different for my generation, which is Generation X. We were never taught to take photos of ourselves, show. A lot of the times when I talk to my generation, they call it showing off. But the younger generations have understood it, mastered it better, and know how to execute it. So for me, it was a learning process. I had to understand how to do it in order to become a part of it. I'm still learning. But then when you see likes, views, comments, all this sort of affect you, I had to disconnect. I have to continuously remind myself to stop making that something that will validate me. Going back to this whole thing of stop people pleasing, stop caring, do you. And then I always ask myself as a 46-year-old, if it is affecting me, what will it do to my kids? Because it will be their reality. It is inevitable. Sometimes they, because sometimes I post them and their friends see them and they're like, oh, your mom got 20,000 views with your video on TikTok. And she'll, my daughter will come home and say that. And I'm like, don't celebrate it. It's not a big deal because tomorrow we'll get 2 views. Or,
what happens
then? Yeah. So I'm always sort of like, I guess I always try and tell myself my living experience is a lesson for many people because I feel like I'm always teaching people through my experiences, and I think whatever I go through online is for me to be able to teach my children how to manage it. And so I'm okay with being a guinea pig right now. I'm like, ooh, sometimes it does bust the ego because I'm a human being after all, I do have a bit of an ego. And but then I always come back to the fact that I'm doing it because I feel it's my purpose. There is a book by Gary Zukav, The Seat of the Soul. And it's like, if you are not living your purpose, your personality will continually be unhappy.
True.
So, I need to be happy. And I feel this is my purpose. Whether it resonates with one person, 15,000 people, 2 million people, that is not in my control. I just do my thing. And like I said, for me, it's to teach. I feel like whatever I go through, I need to teach the people that I can. Not only my children, but whoever's going to listen,
And you also speak about your chosen family in your letter. Who are these? Who are your chosen family members?
So, I grew up, my mom was a second wife. And my father has a huge family, huge family. So cousins and blah, 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 who we never knew growing up because the family never accepted my mom or they accepted her conditionally, on condition. And when he died, it was like, okay, we're done with these people. We're not even in my father's family tree. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, who does that? Why are you so... What happened in your childhood? Why are you so bitter? But whatever. So I never had those cousins. Those big...
How do you remove people from a family tree? Did they just decide we don't want any relation?
I don't know.
Okay.
We need to... Maybe those are the people you need to talk to. They need to write letters to themselves and sort of check themselves. I don't know. Everybody goes through their own journey, I guess, and I can't speak for my parents. They did what they did. We're here as a consequence of them being married. Whatever happened in their past, it's not, I don't know. But I can only tell you the facts that I know and how I have been treated. And this is how I have been treated. So, there was never family gatherings. There was never any big family reunions, when their weddings were thought of last. I've never been a part of a big family, so I think I was always craving that. So when I married my husband, who also has a huge family, it never came. There was never a certain acceptance, because from what I feel, again, it's an assumption, it's because I'm not the same religion. This has been said to my kids, so this is where I base this off of. Oh, my earring. So, you know, it's family are not always related to you by blood. I have found family in friends. I have found family even online. I've found family who support me, and they're not even people that who look like me or who have genes, you know. So that's what I mean. And I had huge expectations of family, and that's why now I'm very protective of my family, especially my children, because of what I've been through. I will not let extended family, because that's what they are. You know, they're family by default, not by anything else, hurt them.
So, love. What would you say is the ugly side of love that you were referring to?
The ugly side, let me start with self-love. The ugly side is getting to know your toxic traits and sitting with your demons, learning their names, and understanding why they're there. That's the ugly. It's hard. It's hard to do that. Love in relationships, the ugly side of love in relationships is doing the same with your partner. Understanding their toxic traits, understanding whether that's something that you want to be with, live with, because we're all toxic. Let's not deny it, right? And then sitting with them so that they can understand their demons and helping them either evolve or grow or understand, as opposed to just pointing blame. So, you know, there was a moment when Raj's father died, and to see him grieve was hard. It was hard for me to lose the happiness, the fun part of my husband. Like, oh my God, even if it was for a short time. Because we are impatient as human beings, like, come on, I need my life to go back to normal. So again, you know, going back to my journey and my loss, my grief, I could empathize. So I could sit with him in his darkness, even if I didn't say anything. I had the patience to be able to be like, I'm here. Now, because he, you know, didn't know or probably couldn't understand. I remember when my mom went through her stroke and I was grieving, he couldn't understand what I was grieving, because your mother is right there. But I was grieving the fact that she may not fully come back.
It's some kind of loss.
It is a loss. And, you know, it was different. It was different. So even growing through that, growing through our miscarriages and how he took it and how I took it, and how maybe, you know, when we were going to doctors, it could have been a he problem or a me problem or an us problem. There was one point we were asked, are you guys related? We looked at each other like, no. But you see, like, all of this is, there is an ugly side to it. There's a harsh side to it. When I talk about his family not accepting me, but him standing by my side, for him, it is painful. It is hard for him to see that his kids are treated differently. But it is something that we grow through together. So that is what I talk about. That's what I mean when I say there is an ugly side to love. That, again, going back to what I started the show with, reality is shit.
And I think even what you've talked about just requires a lot of self-awareness. And being self-aware and being honest with yourself is actually really hard.
And that's it. And that's, you know, going back to the self-love and that journey, because it is such an important journey. Before you can love anyone or anything, you must love yourself. And that means loving yourself and being aware of how you present yourself, your traumas, what you need to heal in order to offer yourself as a whole human being.
And what about the beautiful side of love?
The beautiful side, the laughter, the joy, the fact that you can procreate and bring to life, you know, these beautiful beings, or even adopt animals and have them, because we've done that. We, you know, we have this, you know, there's love of not necessarily your partner, but friends that you can laugh with and just laugh. I remember I've had conversations with friends where it's an 8-hour just laughter fest, if you will. There's love of now showing my mother, sitting with her in her silence, and that love. There's so much beauty in being present. And that's what I think a lot of the times we forget. I was having a conversation with my son this morning, and again, you know, this whole thing of, you're not Sikh, what are you, mama? And I told him religion is not, it's not important. Religion is not why you should differentiate people. What you should see from a person is, are they kind? Do they offer the energy of God, which is love? And like, God doesn't teach us to see differences. God teaches us one energy, and that is love. And that is the beautiful side of it.
That's really beautiful as well. What are some lessons you've learned about love, like throughout your life?
It's not superficial. It's not on the surface. It really, love is very deep. When you say you love someone, there's a lot of depth in that word. And you know, we say it now, you know, I love you babe, love you, whatever, love you, thanks for watching, all this thing. There's so much depth in that word that we've taken it so lightly. We've just we've made t-shirts about it, or whatever, love. But it is, you know, and words are energy, words are spells. So yeah, keep saying it, keep on, because it is a beautiful word, but understand that, that it has a lot of depth.
Do you think this lesson has affected how you receive love and how you give it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, you know, the first person I love is me. And that, with the depth of the word, with the fact that it is ugly and beautiful as well. Once you understand anything, that's how you can give it out. That's how you're able to say, okay, yeah, that's love coming to me, because you understand it. It's not just like, here's a flower, I love you. You know that, you may want to believe that, yeah, he loves me because he gave me a red rose. But you know the energy, you know, and your body will always know the energy. We are energetic, magnetic beings. We are vibrational. Love is a vibration. So you'll always feel when it's coming to you genuinely, and you'll always be able to reciprocate.
Now, let's talk a bit about your cycle, yeah? Was there anything that at a young age you thought was normal about your cycle, and then you grew old and you were like, hold on, maybe this is not exactly normal?
I mean, irregular cycles. You're just like, one thing that we need to stop saying is a period is dirty. It's not. When a woman is on her period, she is the most potent, most powerful being. And I think we have been taught to forget this. And I was having the period conversation with my daughter, and she was like, ew. I was like, it's not you. Do not say that, because you have to understand how powerful you are. I mean, this is the blood that would create a being. Can you imagine? And we have been taught to discard it, to turn away from it, to think that it's just yuck. So I feel like we need to be teaching. I wish someone had taught me this when I was younger, how to honor my period, how to honor that part of my life, or the duration during that month, how to honor yourself during that time. And I'm doing that now as, you know, every time I get my period, I'm like, yay, look at me. And it always coincides with the full moon. So I'm like, I am a witch. I am so powerful. But I feel like, you know, we have been taught to forget as women how powerful we are. We move in cycles, just like the moon, just like the elements, the earth, etc. So we have to be able to honor ourselves. You can't just say, oh, it's hormones, oh, that's whatever. Honor yourself at every stage and phase, and I said this in the letter as well. Your period is beautiful. It's old blood and it's stuff coming out of your body, but it actually is very powerful. And if you Google, if you find out more about it on your own, then you'll be like, oh wow, we have been misinformed.
I actually need, the next time I'm going to check whether mine also coincides with the full moon. Maybe we're like, which sisters?
Maybe. It's like, but it's, of course it continues to move. Because, but I cannot tell you that in my 40s, I am the most regular, 28 days, and I'm like, boom. Like even my husband's like, 2 days before my period, I'm like yelling at everyone. He's like, okay, your period's on its way. So I think, I wish I had known this before. Maybe my miscarriages wouldn't have happened. Again, it's just honoring your body and understanding what it goes through and what is natural. A period is natural. It's natural and normal. We must teach our girls, we must teach our boys.
Okay. So you definitely say that the irregular periods definitely had something to do with the miscarriages?
I mean, we were, in my teen years, in my 20s, I remember just not wanting a period. Like, oh God, if it doesn't come, even better. Ooh. If it's a little drop, oh good, phew, that was good. That was a good period. No, it wasn't. That's abnormal. So I don't know if it had anything to do with, because I feel like we're consistently changing. So what happened in those 10 or 15 years maybe didn't impact what happened in my 30s with my miscarriages. But I feel like what we are eating, and I'll go back to that, what we are eating is affecting us. It's affecting our health. It is affecting our hormones. It's affecting our period. So for sure, what you eat, they say your body is your temple. And they say you are what you eat, but I'd rather say you are what you digest.
That's awesome, because then it goes further than diet for the body, it's the mind as well.
Everything, it balances your hormones, it regulates your period, it allows you to conceive healthily, all these things, your food.
Okay, so now as we start to wind up, what would you say is the biggest mistake you've made in your life?
Just one?
You can give us more.
Many. I think trusting the wrong people, that's definitely something I beat myself up about, trusting, being an open book. I really am an open book, as you can see. I don't mind talking about anything. The other mistake, I think just that, actually. I know I said I may have had a few mistakes, but no, I think that's one of the mistakes. But I also feel like when you say that there's a mistake, you're not taking responsibility. Like, I feel everything I have done, every step I've made has molded me to the person I am today. So I have to own it, mistakes and all.
So no regrets?
No, absolutely none. None.
Okay, Pinky. So we normally do this thing on the podcast where now you wrote a letter to your 25-year-old self. So I want to do like let's call it a capsule sort of thing where I have messages for you guys, but in like 10 years time. So in like 10 years I can come back and I'm like, Pinky, here is a message from like 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I guess you can look at...
So I'm talking to my 56-year-old self.
Exactly. So give her a message.
Girl. Okay. So this is a lot of pressure because I have no preparation for it. But what I'd like to tell you is to continue on this journey. continue on finding out who you are, because you keep on unpeeling and unlayering that. And I'm sure that you will continue to live in your authenticity. I have no doubt about that. I wonder if this gray hair that you have at the moment will ever get dyed, because right now you're not in the mood to dye it. So let's see in 10 years what you look like, especially when it comes to this. You know, everyone's like, dye your hair, especially Indian aunties. I'm like, no, I'm okay with this for now. I think career-wise, you should have written a book by now. I hope that the book or a couple are out by now, and your speaking career will really, really thrive. I look forward to watching this in another 10 years and hopefully not cringing too much at what I've just said. All the best, babe.
Awesome. So if in the next couple of years I don't see a book, I'll be like,
I know. It'll be like,
we're waiting.
What have I just said to myself?
We're all waiting for the book, but thank you so much
No,
for coming
thank you.
to the show.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. You were very open. I feel like I've also learned a couple of things, and I have a couple of things to go do further research on just to get more info.
Sure.
So I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
And for our guys watching at home, if you have gotten this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and if you're new to this channel, please subscribe down below for new videos every week. Always remember to work hard and have good intentions. Bye guys.